A lot of people actually don't want to be free. A lot of people don't want to be liberated. They say they want to be liberated, but they don't really. A lot of people are still very comfortable um, in their victim mindset. And here's the thing, sometimes people really are in that stage, and that's holy. Sometimes people really are in the I'm a victim stage, and sometimes people are victims. But the problem here is that in that stage, you have no power. And I believe that stage is really like stage zero before any kind of healing or transformation happens. And it's not necessary for everyone to go there. But for the people who do go there, it's because something in their psyche needs to feel safe enough to before they can proceed in their healing, before they can grow. And being in the victim consciousness provides safety, or they think it provides safety. So my main thing is like, it's not your responsibility to get people who are really attached to victim consciousness out of victim consciousness. Let them be there and live and lead by way of embodiment and by way of you being so unapologetically free and yourself and liberated and brave and out loud and strong. And when they're ready, if they ever are ready, they will let you know, because they'll start showing up differently around you. They'll start being open to new conversations. But it's never the liberatrix's place to shock the victim out of victim consciousness. It's only the liberatrix's place to see the victim, love the victim, do not meet them there, do not speak to them like a victim, and just hold the frequency of the liberated woman, of the liberatrix. And just by being around that energy, just by witnessing you, the victim will start to become the heroine. She'll start to understand that she has other options, but you have to be liberated first before that can happen. And the liberatrix really, she bursts people's illusion bubbles and shows them a new way when they are open to it, when they are literally in a coaching container with her and paying her to pop their bubbles, when she is the one doing the healing, when she is the one providing the transformation, right? But when it comes to, or like even a friend who came to you specifically and was like, help me out, I'm stuck. But for the people around the liberatrix in her personal life, the main way to liberate people around you, again, is to be liberated yourself. That's really the only effective way to do it. And to continue to lead and live yourself without, live and lead yourself without needing their approval, without needing them to understand, without needing them to like what you're doing, without needing them to give you a gold star, without needing validation, without needing affirmation. You just are. You are who you are every single day. And every day you follow your heart and you follow your desires and you trust yourself and you have the confidence of a 47-year-old white man in Wall Street while being in your 30s or 40s or 20s or however fucking old you are listening to this, being the wild feminine spirit that you are. And just continue to shock people with how fucking free you are. And also, maybe they don't know how powerful you are, but you know how powerful you are. Everyone who knows you knows how powerful you are. Maybe people on the outside are like, what the fuck is this woman on? But let them think that. Let them think that. It doesn't matter. The people who are in your path, who are ready to be liberated by you, are either your loved ones or your clients or the people who are triggered by you. And all three of those groups of people will be massively healed and liberated just through you being you without needing anything from them in return. So, on liberating the people who come to you for counsel, your clients, your friends, your peers, your coworkers, um, how the liberatrix does this is she sees. She sees with both 360 vision, bird's eye vision, and laser vision. 360 vision meaning she is not attached to their story. She hears their story. She empathizes genuinely with their story. Her eyes may even fill with tears as she feels the pain in their story. She loves, right? And just that love that's coming from her heart is the first step of liberation. Love is the ultimate liberator. So already they feel liberated just by speaking their truth. And having someone hear it and see them and feel them. And she is a super powered woman because she feels them without getting stuck there. She feels them without vibrating on their level of consciousness in their same story. Because if she were to go down to the story, she cannot help them. She cannot liberate them. So she feels them, she empathizes. She does not invalidate them or discredit them. This is literally how I coach. She sees them and she is radically connected to her own channel, both from God above her and from her womb within her. Those are the two main places that I get intuitive messages from, either from God, like, hey, her problem is this thing that happened when she was 12 with her dad. Or, hey, this woman is telling you about this story, but actually, here's the limiting belief that's holding her back. And when I get that download from either my womb or my channel, I say the thing when I see in their body field that they're open to receive it. So there will be a pause, or maybe sometimes, I rarely interrupt, but when I do, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stop you there. It's rare when that happens. Normally, I'm able to wait for a pause, but sometimes it's like, sometimes they'll be in the story for the whole hour of the coaching call, and you're like, okay, to protect everyone's time and energy to get you what you deserve in this call, I'm just going to say the thing. But normally I wait for there to be an opening in their body language, and I say the thing, and I let it hang in the air. It's potent and it's direct, but it is delivered with love. The liberatrix cannot liberate without love. It doesn't work. The liberatrix can actually harm when there is no love there. So deliver the potent truth that they were unable to see in the moment or admit to themselves. And the look that they'll have in their eye afterwards, normally it'll be silent, so it's important that you don't immediately, after you say the thing, don't be like, and by the way, this works with clients, this works with partners, this works with friends. This is like the liberatrix's technique to liberate anyone. After you say the thing, don't coddle them. Don't be like, and don't soften your words either. Don't edit. Say the thing with love. Let it hang there in the air. Let it resonate. And I'm telling you, one of two things will happen. Either, most of the time, option A happens, which is they start laughing or crying or go, holy shit, okay, you are correct. Or like something will happen and after the moments of silence where something in their physiology just shifts, like their mind gets blown. You see it happen. The bubble that was surrounding them gets popped and they see the truth and they see that they're actually free. They see the actual realities that are available to them now. And then you can really make some magic with them there, because then you're able to fucking dance in the quantum realm of where else they could go besides this story that was never real in the first place. So, or option B will happen, meaning they are not ready to receive that and they get immediately defensive. Or option C, the way that you delivered it wasn't in the way that they needed to hear it. And it could be that they don't feel empowered in the way that you're delivering the thing. Because if you're delivering the truth with the energy of, I know you better than you do, people are like, fuck you. No, you don't. And that's a correct response because you don't. You don't know them better than they do. Only they can say what's the truth. But when the Liberatrix offers a truth with love, and it's delivered to the person in a way where it's a door for them and not like a point blank statement, it's actually a door that they can decide to open or not open, then from there, they get their fucking worlds rocked. It's beautiful. So that's how the Liberatrix can liberate the people who come to her for counsel. See the things that they don't see. Be willing to say the thing that no one else can say. Sometimes there will be triggers. Sometimes there will be defensiveness. And that's fine. And that's part of the process. But most of the time, there is just extraordinary liberation and gratitude.
So sitting here in bed with my favorite person in the universe, my husband, Charlie Janik.
Hello.
And today we're going to tell the story of how we decided to move to Austin and everything that led up to that. Day 4, as y'all know, is on liberating others. And I firmly believe that leading with the energy of the Liberatrix inspires everyone around you to also follow the aliveness and follow what's true. And also, our love has deeply liberated me in so many ways. And I don't think I would have done this move to Austin alone, because the container of our relationship has just given me so much freedom. Do you feel the same way?
I do. And are you saying we might have moved somewhere else, or you might have moved somewhere else if you weren't with me?
Maybe, yeah. I might have moved to like Denver or Boulder if I was single, yeah.
Well, we had a really good...
And Charlie would have moved to New York if he was single.
Possible. We had a really good decision-making process where we were unhappy in the Bay Area because a lot of the really interesting, alive, creative people, they all left in the pandemic and weren't going to come back, and most of our friends left. And we felt that Austin was the right container for both of us. There was stuff for me and stuff for you, and it really just worked well together. And I think we chose the right container for our relationship and our growth.
Our sacred union.
And it was sort of a leap of faith. We had never even been.
We like, when I tell this story, I lie and I'm like, because I don't want to sound dumb. And like, I'm like, we went to all these different cities and we chose the one that we liked best.
Thought about that,
but the truth is that I was so confident. Like, whose intuition was it that we should move to Austin?
It was your intuition.
It was mine. I was so confident that we would love it that we literally went sight unseen.
Well, we rented a 12-month lease sight unseen.
Right.
Rather than touring around the country for a different city. And
because I just knew.
Yes. And one of the things I love about you is your intuition is impeccable.
Impeccable.
You have amazing intuition about people, the future, just cities, and you were just so right about, the city being the right place for both of us to thrive. And we've really just grown so much and found our tribe and community here, and a lot of them are the kinds of people that left San Francisco. We could just hang out with Bay Areans if we wanted to. But your intuition was really good, and I'm just so grateful to you for having the foresight to want to pick this place.
I love you.
I love you too.
So I want to take them back to like where we were at when it like came to a boiling point, which is, and I'm going to tell the story of like the moment that I came to a boiling point, which is an unflattering story of me, but I'm still going to tell it because I'm authentic and truthful. And It was, so, I mean, a little bit of context. Charlie and I are both Bay Area born and raised, Bay Areans, born and raised, multi-generational. So the Bay Area, if you're in Europe and you're like, what the fuck is the Bay Area? It's San Francisco and the surrounding cities around, and the surrounding counties and towns around San Francisco, which is in Northern California. And Charlie and I are, born and raised, but also multi-generational. Like our mom and dads live there, our grandmothers and grandfathers live there, our great like it's, our family lines go way back in the Bay Area. And both Charlie and I are extremely close to our families. I'm super close with my parents, as I've described to you guys. A lot of that happened in the years that I had Lyme. He's really close with his parents. I'm also close to my siblings, and I'm just like obsessed with being an aunt. But I never ever fit in to the San Francisco tech culture. So, you know, there was a time frame when San Francisco had the vibe that Austin has now, but I was sick during those years with Lyme, so I didn't really get to experience that. And then, you know, I got sick when I was 22. So like pre-22, I guess I was happy in San Francisco, but I wasn't like a fully formed adult yet. Charlie, on the other hand, found his niche in San Francisco with like, he was like a tech bro. Like he worked in tech. He still works in tech, but a different part of tech. Is that the right way to say it? Now he works in like fintech, which is finance tech, but he was working at these like hyper growth companies, like super unethical, not the vibe. And I'd like to think that being with me inspired you to do something more authentic because of me embodying my liberatrix, and now he's in a more authentic path. But he found his niche like with like the hyper intellectual like tech burner bros, like the Burning Man community in San Francisco. But even that all faded out in 2020. I think it started in like 2018. And then when the pandemic hit, like literally all of the, not literally, but so it was called like the mass exodus of San Francisco. Like it was the most moved out city of the year in the whole fucking country because the city became so dark. Like you could not take a walk without a mask. You could not go anywhere without feeling terrified for your life. There was literally like there still is, like it's this like dark energetic cloud that's specifically over San Francisco, where I was born and raised. Marin County, which is right outside of San Francisco, is protected from that, and Marin has a much better vibe, but there's no like childless millennials who live there who are like artists or coaches or creatives, because it's so fucking expensive. So most of the people who live there like work in tech in San Francisco, where you get paid the big bucks, and they're raising their kids and like da-da-da. So anyway, it reached a boiling point. I would say, I think it was 2021 when we were still engaged. No, it was like early 2022. And we were planning our wedding. And we knew that we were going to get married at the end of that year. And both of us had just been so isolated for like 2 years at that point, right? Actually, I think this happened in 2021. I think the first instance was like mid 2021. So it had been like a year and a half of that point of just like complete isolation. And in 2021, the pandemic was like sort of over. So we thought everything would go back to normal, but it didn't. And in fact, it just kept getting worse. Like pretty much, you know, all of the people who we resonate with just moved away, and like no one even looks at each other in San Francisco. No one talks to each other. It's really not the vibe. And I had no friends, like literally none. I have one, like in our wedding, I had my best friend Danny, and then my sister and my sister-in-law, just because I was unable to form a community there, nor did I want to, just because the type of people there just aren't my people, you know, in that time frame. And I don't know if it's still that way, but we're very happy in Austin. So, but anyway, so we, in 2021, I just had like this like manic, not literally manic, but I just remember like I was sitting on the stairs of our Sausalito condo and I was like, we need to move to Europe for 1 year. Do you remember this?
Yes.
I was like, we're moving to Europe for 1 year and there is no discussion about it. And Charlie was like, absolutely not. Like I have a job. I can't just like drop everything and move to Europe. And so my liberatrix was like, okay, fuck this. Like, let's burn everything. Let's move to Europe. She was coming in hot after years of suppression and living in this like box, basically. This very sheltered, known box, the place that we have always lived in. But I wasn't growing there. And Charlie wasn't growing there either. Like we were just safe there. And at the time, my business was growing. And I was like, this is out of alignment. Like, I can grow personally and do a lot of inner work, but, you know, to be in alignment as like a coach and a mentor and a guide, I have to be growing, and I'm not socially growing at all. And like the kind of events that I like to go to just aren't here, and my people aren't here, and we have no community. And so Charlie, you know, was just like, no, we're not moving to Europe. And I fell to the ground on my knees. You remember this? I fell to the ground on my knees and started screaming like a little girl. Like a little girl. Like I was not the deep feminine in that moment. I was not the liberatrix in that moment. I was the little girl who was like, oh my fucking God, like I can't stay here anymore. Like I just can't do it. And then you tell me, babe, like, how do we get from that point to, okay, we're moving to Austin?
Well, I took you really seriously when you had that breakdown. Like, you know.
But you were also feeling that way too.
No,
you just were more balanced about it.
For sure. I was more balanced about it, and I didn't have my liberatrix. What's the male liberatrix?
I don't fucking know. Let us know.
Okay, I'll have to come up with the word. My liberatrix wasn't screaming out, but when yours did, I took that very seriously, and I realized that like we weren't going to be happy as a couple in San Francisco, and you know, moving to Europe or Timbuktu or whatever, Vanuatu wasn't going to be on the cards.
When did I ever say I wanted to move to Timbuktu?
Well, that's a stand-in for a radical change. But I also want to make sure that we weren't overcompensating by doing something. You know, some people moved to New Zealand during the pandemic. Yeah. You know, I wanted to make sure that we were not escaping or doing something like unsustainably different.
And this is why Charlie is good for me, because I'll let you continue. But that just really quick, like the level of passion and like the level of the depths of which I feel things is so big. And he's just like this like stable level, masculine, logical, like, okay, slow down. I mean, even like 3 nights ago, I was like, Rufus the Soul is going on tour. Inner Bloom is a bucket list. I have to see Inner Bloom live before I die. We're getting the tickets now. And I was pissed when he wasn't like, okay, you know, he was like, I don't know about that, Megan. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to say yes. I was like, why not? Like, we have to go. Inner Bloom is like my thing. I want to follow the aliveness. And then I took a second and realized that we couldn't go anyways because we have plans that weekend. So just an example, constantly just putting my feet on the earth with this man.
Thank you. I love that.
And I ground you in different ways.
You do. So when you had that breakdown, I realized that it was coming from your liberatrix. There was a underneath that screaming no
was like wisdom.
Was a yes.
Yeah.
There was a deep yes that was underneath the no, underneath the crying and the screaming no. And I took that very seriously. And as your at the time fiance, I realized that we had to follow that. And to be honest, although I wasn't feeling that no and that yes as strongly as you, I certainly felt it. Yeah. And shared that sentiment, just not the intensity. And I realized, okay, we have to move. And yeah, I mean, we settled on Austin as a place that would work for both of us. But my main consideration was not necessarily like, oh, what works for me besides San Francisco? It was, or what would work for Megan, whatever. It was, my main consideration is what would be sustainable. My thought was, if we're going to move, this should be a long-term thing. This should be a 5-year chapter, 10-year chapter. So let's find a place where we can actually ground ourselves.
Yeah.
Unlike, a Vanuatu or New Zealand where we're never really going to have roots.
I love how you're just suggesting these random places.
Yeah. So we basically wanted to build roots and community, right?
Yeah.
And make a home in a sustainable place.
Beautiful. Yeah. So we decided upon Austin, and literally it has been the best decision over and over and over again. The first, I want to say like 8 months were pretty hard because we moved here in like the butthole of summer last year. Last year it was over 103 degrees every fucking day for over 3 months. And that's like a fact. Like it was unusually bad last summer, and we moved like right at the start of that. And also like it was just a chaotic year last year. I mean, in 2023, the beginning of 2023 so we got married in November 2022. And then, I thought we've been talking for an hour. It's only been 14 minutes. We're good. This is a good one. We got married in November 2022. And then I, started to feel really fatigued at the beginning of 2023. We were planning on moving to Austin, like in May anyway. But turns out that the condo that we were living in had mold, which was the second fucking time that happened to me in the Bay Area. So it's almost like I'm not meant to live in the Bay Area. And I was feeling quite sick, and we couldn't get like a 3-month rental. So as a newly married couple, we moved back home with my parents for a few months, just to fill in the time between. It was 3 months to fill in the time between then like getting out of the moldy condo and moving to Austin. Because we're like, well, we're going to move to Austin anyway. We have to get the fuck out of this condo now because it's making me feel sick. So that was like immediately challenging, and it was so confronting and just horrible. We handled it really well. I'm really proud of it. So did my parents. Like we grew a lot from that experience, and it was like immediate shadow work for us as a married couple, just like immediately. Your Scorpio moon and my Scorpio rising manifested that, and we slayed, and I'm proud of us, but it was hard. And then yeah, it was just, so I got better from the mold after getting out of that apartment. Then we were living with my parents, and I felt fucking weird because I was leading this business. And 2023 was actually my most successful year in business thus far. And I was like, this is so weird. I'm like taking calls talking about like sexual empowerment, like in my childhood bedroom. Like it was just so fucking weird for me. I couldn't like get in the vibe that I like to be in when I'm leading, because it just was weird. I'm getting distracted in the details, but it's okay. Anyway, my point is that it was a tough year last year, and moving to a brand new place and then feeling homesick. And I was also like not surrounding myself with like the right people in a couple of different areas in my life. And I didn't really know it at the time. And then everything kind of came to a head in like November of last year, November of 2023, where I was like, okay, I'm going to pivot out of like this circle and that circle, and I'm going to stand firm in who I am and knowingly choose what's true for me and choose what's authentic for me, and really embody the Liberatrix in that way, just leaving actually 2 groups that it's okay. I've already like mentioned this in my business. I don't name any names or anything. I'm looking at Charlie like it's okay. But I at the same time like left a year-long mastermind that I was in. And then also I left this sort of like friend group that I was in, both of which weren't the best places for me. And I did it around the same time. And I, like a leader, like a Liberatrix, was just like, Like, it was kind of like, it wasn't like I got booted out. Like, I literally left. And that put me at risk of not being liked, of people being like, well, fuck Megan, and, da da da. But I had to do what was right for me. And I left. I left the year-long mastermind without asking for a refund. I left 6 weeks early just because I couldn't be in that energy anymore. It just got so out of integrity. And then with the friend group, pretty much immediately after I left, I found my soul family here. Like, I really deepened with the friends who are really fucking real. And Charlie and I together have developed this beautiful community. And I feel that we're in a few different communities. I feel that our branches go very far in Austin. But we have this like core, group of people who we feel genuine love for. We're like, this is our Sea Ranch crew. Like, my parents every year would go with their best friends to Sea Ranch, a coastal town in California, and they would bring all the kids. And so I remember going every year, and I'm like, you know what? This is what I want to manifest for me and Charlie, is like friends who feel like family. And that's really what we found here in Austin. So long story short, last year I found myself again at the end of last year. I found Megan again, but it was tumultuous at first because it was a new place. And also there was just a lot going on in my life that like wasn't quite right. And I had to lead myself out of that. And ever since really grounding here and buying this beautiful home and, being with our beautiful community, both of us have just reflected on, we've literally never felt more alive. We've literally never felt happier than we are right now, because we removed ourselves from the prison that we created for ourselves. We removed ourselves from the known and pole vaulted ourselves into the unknown. We said fuck yes to aliveness, and we followed it, even when it was rocky at first, and even when we didn't know what the result would be. So as of right now, we've never felt more alive. We've never felt happier. And that's all because of the Liberatrix, because we liberated ourselves from who we used to be and stepped into who we're meant to be.
I like this idea that when your soul is screaming out in pain and unhappiness, you should treat that as a sacred no.
Yeah.
And dig under the sacred no to discover what's the sacred yes.
Yes. Babe, so wise.
And you call that the liberatrix. It's not a word that I use, but that's a beautiful, beautiful idea. And it makes so much sense.
Baby, that's so beautiful.
So I think I have a curiosity to me that is something I really express in my hobbies and my free time and intellectual life, especially, and social life. But this sort of like openness that I have was something that I didn't find expressible properly in my romantic life. I had, a partner or two where it was, but, they were toxic and unhealthy and like it didn't work in other ways. And the majority of the partners that I had before meeting you, I felt repressed and unexpressed because that core trait of sort of like curiosity and openness and exploration were just not expressed, right? They were repressed by virtue of the relationship. So I guess you were my liberatrix in that you are so curious and so open. And I feel like even though we're very different people, I'm able to really deeply connect and express that part of myself in my romantic life and emotional life. And that
We're the same on the inside.
we're the same on the inside. And I would say that, yes, actually, I guess I do have a liberatrix. It's the sort of romantic dimension of my core personality trait of curiosity and openness. And my liberatrix was liberated by meeting you.
Baby, I love that. I love that so much. I love you so much.
I love you too.
So are we not going to talk about anything else?
Well, I don't know. I feel like we talked about a lot.
Okay.